Welcome back to Soda City Live, everyone. We're going to have a little history lesson here on the show today. So, did you know that people of African descent have always been integral to the University of South Carolina, really since its founding? In the early days of the university, actually enslaved people, they lived and worked on campus, and they weren't even able to attend school at that time. Now, time has gone by and things have been corrected, and they're being honored with a historical marker at the USC Horseshoe. This is an effort spearheaded by USC's Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Historic Columbia. Joining me today to talk more about this great event is Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at USC, Julian Williams. Welcome to the show, Julian.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. This is really a full circle moment when you think about the history of USC, and I think a lot of people don't really know something interesting that we were talking about during the commercial break.
The point in our history during Reconstruction, usually in the years between 1873 and 1877, the University of South Carolina was experiencing a ton of change, as the South was, right after the Civil War, as enslaved African Americans had opportunities to vote, opportunities to become involved in social and political activities. They also had opportunities for the first time in the university's history to attend the University of South Carolina. And one of the things that people don't know is during that time they did. The USC was actually a majority African American university during that time. We hired our first black faculty member in Richard T. Greener, who's commemorated with a statue on campus. And now what we're going to do is to unveil, in partnership with Historic Columbia, a historical marker that outlines the university during that time between 1873 and 1877, that period of Reconstruction when African Americans were first attending the university as students.
I think this speaks volumes because, across the South and in, South Carolina as well, there are a lot of statues across the state, across the nation, honoring those who did not really care for mixing races or allowing black people the rights. And now on a prominent campus like USC, one of the top universities, in the nation, they're being honored. Why is this so important?
It's important because it's a time in our history and our university history as well as our American history that I just don't think we talk about. Reconstruction was a time of opportunity, a time of promise, a time when formerly enslaved individuals were having the opportunity to participate in this great experiment that we call America. And to imagine those individuals that had previously only been allowed to work at or work for the university were now in class as students. And it was a wonderful time for them, an excellent time for the university, where they were recruiting scholars like Richard T. Greener, who was our first African American faculty member. And it's a time that I think we have to remember. It's a time that I think we have to talk about, a time of promise and of opportunity. And I think when we think about what higher education is for the community, for the state of South Carolina, we must talk about it at a time when African Americans were participating at high rates after being previously enslaved in the state of South Carolina as well, and previously being barred from attending the university as well.
All good points there that, again, I don't think a lot of people know. And then the unveiling of this marker is going to be a public event. It's going to be a celebration happening next Friday, the 13th. Tell us about the program.
Sure. So we're partnering with Historic Columbia, the historical society here in the city of Columbia. And we next Friday on the USC Horseshoe, we will open to the public. We will be unveiling the historic marker, which will sit right outside the gates of the Horseshoe, right on Sumter Street, if folks are familiar with campus, but anyone can join. There will be presentations by our university president, by dignitaries across the state, by one of our fantastic faculty members, Bobby Donaldson at the University of South Carolina as well. So it's a time for people to come out, learn, fellowship, but also to commemorate this really unique time in South Carolina history, university history, as well as American history.
And continue to have these conversations so people will know just, how far we came from, what's happening, and the changes still that need to be made. So we're going to pull up the information so you can attend this great event at USC. Again, this is going to be the dedication of Reconstruction era historic marker, open to the public.